So I was asked to put together a quick kind of explanation for those of you guys that weren't able to see this. So I figured I'd just record and I'll attach it to the assignment itself. This grid is simply a way to practice what we've already been practicing. And I always think about it kind of like a multiplication table where I'm going to take sodium and I'm going to use sodium in its entire row here. Same thing on the top, we have oxide, and I'm going to use oxide for all of the compounds in this particular column. Wherever they cross, they bond. So if I was going to figure out what's going in this first box here, obviously sodium is going to bond with oxide and make sodium oxide. We need to do two things. The name, which I think is the easier thing to do because literally take the name of the positive and the name of the negative and put them in. And then the formula is the slightly trickier part. I have the charges listed on here as +1 and -2 for these two, and we have to figure out what the other ones are, but attached to the assignment is also the periodic table with all the charges on it. Sodium being in +1, oxygen over here is a -2. So if I'm going to put sodium and oxygen together, oxide, I use my seesaw. It's a +1 bonded to a -2, and if I look at the seesaw that corresponds to that, I have two +1s on the left. So I'm going to put two sodiums in, and I'm going to put one oxide, one -2 ion on the right, and then I have the formula. Now, like I said, the oxide applies to this entire column, so I'm missing this one down here. Magnesium comes over and I pop magnesium in, and we will make magnesium oxide. But we also need the formula. Luckily, it's a +2 and a -2. Hopefully, it makes sense that those two already balance. But if you're still having trouble, pop over to the seesaw, and we can see in the +2 and -2 column, we have the one on each side. I put one Mg in and one O. Now, for the remainder of the far left and the remainder of the top, I don't have the ions listed, but you need to understand that if I created potassium chloride right here, that means the positive ion had to come from the left side and the negative ion had to come from the top. Well, the positive is potassium, K, it always comes first. On the periodic table, if we search, potassium is on the left side of the table. It is a +1, so I include the charge here, +1. Chloride came down from the top. Cl on the periodic table, very far right side, group 7A, it's a -1. So I include that charge, call that chloride. Once I have those two put in, I can now figure out what goes on here and here. Right? Potassium bonds to oxide, we create potassium oxide. Luckily for these ones, we have another +1 -2. The formula is going to be the same as the sodium oxide, except for it's going to be K instead of Na. Up here in this block box, we have sodium bonding to chloride, creating sodium chloride. +1 and a -1, so just like when it was a 2 and a 2, they balance with each other, no numbers needed. And then we just fill it out. We bring calcium over here, we bring phosphide up. Check the periodic table for charges. Barium comes over, bromide comes up. Check the charges on the periodic table, and then just continue to fill it up. Hopefully that helps. Let me know if you need any help.